Okay, this is mostly a happy path use case for PO/GR based invoice processing through the Nipendo AP Automation solution using our map here, getting the data through a gateway, captured, digitized, converted, and then processed for validations, and then pushed into the SAP system that we're going to use as the backend. But we're going to start here. Okay, so the first thing is to establish that we've already got a purchase order and a goods receipt, PO and a GR already set up in SAP for this order. Now there's a little bit of detail here and there. The unit price is based on 1,000 pieces lot, so that's in the PO. And if you roll on over to the purchase order history, you can see that there's also material receipt on this. A GR. You can click through on that to go look at the details of that, and you can see the delivery note information there. Okay, let's move on over to the supplier side and see the PO on their side. You can see PO information, including details and lines, the image of the PO itself. And if you look up above that line there, you can see other things related to it, like the goods receipt. There's a goods receipt there that we can click on and see that a goods receipt has been received. This is the communication with the supplier that's so critical to getting things done. Now we could flip the goods receipt into an invoice or flip it from a PO, doesn't matter. Upload an image from that, and then if the template's existing already, then what we're going to see is that that image will fill in the rest of the information, and it's available there for the invoice to be prepared and sent. So let's take a little time out to remind ourselves where we are in the whole process here. We're at the very start here in the gateway with different kinds of ways that the invoice gets into the system. This time we did a PO flip, but we did use some OCR tools in the process, and we even saw the PO and GR over on the SAP side. So one thing to remember if we kind of go backwards is to say if this came in as an OCR emailed invoice, we might need to do a little bit of attaching the document information like is being shown right here, just manually from what's being put in there. This is only the invoice number in this case because that's what's coming from the actual invoice on the supply side, but it's helpful to have that ability to do it straight in the tool itself and to learn from that. Okay, back to regularly scheduled processing here. The next thing that a supplier really cares about is whether their invoice is going to be accepted. It's one thing to get them digitally sent, but to get them accepted, you need to look at the validations. And if they refresh on the invoice, you can see there's lots of validation. Each one of these is a bot that's configured for the particular customer's requirements, or if there's requirements within the country, regulatory requirements, then you could look for routing that needs to happen, some governance and compliance things, data integrity check, making sure that everything is in order on the invoice according to what the laws require in that particular jurisdiction. There's the PO, whether the PO matches, whether the lines on that PO match or not, and it can go into some good detail as well around the vendor information. Maybe you need to look at the VAT number against what's on the order. For example, maybe the vendor's changed its VAT number from what's in your vendor database, and you want to know about that. These are rules that the supplier just has no way to keep control over, so it's nice to have the system telling him this information. Here's the goods receipt, making sure that that part of the matching is in there, that there's a goods receipt for each invoice line, and so on. And you could just see that there's just tons of bots that are working as needed on each one. There's even quality checks, making sure that the quantity is correct across that. And then finally, there's a check against what's in the printed invoice versus when we capture that from an OCR, making sure that that matches what the vendor record says and what the order says and so on. So all of those validations are very critical to making sure that that invoice gets sent over. And if anything's wrong that the supplier needs to fix, well, heck, we just need to talk to them about that. So returning to our map here, we've gone through the processor part of our equation now and converted that back and sent it in through the gateway to the SAP system on the back end. And you can see here on the SAP screens, purchase order history has more items in it now. There's not just a goods receipt, but there's an invoice receipt. And if you click on the invoice, you can see the information about that invoice. This particular one, because it had passed all those validations, it flew into the system and got vouchered in. So it's ready for payment. And that is the ideal that we're shooting for here. We are very proud to have a very high rate of untouched invoices for the AP folks to worry about, only exceptions for them, and our validations, that central part of our processing, is key to arriving at that high number of untouched invoices. Okay, that's it. Thank you.